Still love COVID.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 23rd, 2021 Litchfield Board of Selectmen meeting. The board has just come out of a paperwork review. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, we have Vice Chairman Larry remote, and Chairman Kevin Lynch will not be in attendance this evening. First, we have is the review and approval of consent items. We have an account payroll manifest of August 17th, 2021, in the sum of $162,006.43, and August 24th, 2021, in the sum of $15,156.62. We have a payroll manifest of August 19th, 2021, $57,844.63, and August 26th, 2021, in the sum of $62,821.26. We have the tax collector and town clerk reconciliation. We have a Litchfield State Forest reimbursement application. We have the school payment schedule, and we have the local river management advisory committee nominee. Are there any items members would like to remove from consent? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second.
second by Ms. Queenan. Any discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. Is there any other business members would like to add this evening?
Two things that I wanted to ask about is just an updates. One is on the Purple Heart dedication for the town. Where we're at on that. I know Mr. Adams keeps asking me, and he wants to buy some signs, but I told him I would try to bring it up at the next meeting and get some info
Okay.
if we can find out.
And what was the
Okay.
second one you wanted to add?
Getting a lot of questions from people in town about Wilson Farms being open or not being open, and asking if there's anything the selectmen can do, such as write a letter to the Wilson family and find out what their intentions are, and maybe give them a strong urging from the town to reopen. It's been a nice thing in the town, and a lot of young kids have had jobs there over the years. It's a good thing in a dying breed, people working farms. So I don't know if there's anything we can do, but if we could, I think it would be appreciated.
Okay, we'll discuss both those when we get a little bit further into the meeting.
Right.
Thank you. Public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 p.m. The first item of business is the July 26, 2021 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review? And if so, are there any comments or clarifications? If there's none, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Queenan,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I will abstain. Motion carries 3-0-1. Next item we have is the appointment of Jeffrey Blackwell, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer. Mr. Brown.
Yes, Mr. Blackwell started working with us about 2 weeks ago. We just haven't had a chance to meet publicly and formally make the appointment. I could tell you that he has really hit the ground running, been working some long hours, and he's already attended a zoning board of adjustment meeting. He's really starting to interact with the various departments on a daily basis, and very impressed so far. He's really enthusiastic about the job and really willing to learn, willing to ask questions. So a real good addition to our team.
Oh, great.
So this action this evening will officially designate him with the authority as building inspector and the code enforcement officer.
Okay, great. I know we had a chance to spend some time with him last
Yep,
Monday.
The board of selectmen as well.
Was that last Monday?
That's Thursday.
Thursday. It was on Thursday, yeah.
A few days
So it
ago.
was good to get to know him and welcome. So do we have a motion to appoint Mr. Blackwell?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. LaSalle's. Any discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 400. The next,
Welcome aboard, Jeff.
welcome aboard.
Glad
Next,
to
we
you.
have the resignation of Marion Godzik, alternate of Conservation Commission member. Mr. Brown.
Just a formality, as you know, to accept any resignation that we receive. But Chairman Lepore of the Conservation Commission forwarded an email that Marion had sent to him and other commission members regarding her resignation. This was effective, I believe, a few weeks ago. And just here's a formality for the board to accept.
Okay, and I know she did volunteer for many years, so after we approve her resignation, accept it, would you send a letter on behalf of the board? Thank you
Certainly.
for years of service.
Yep.
That'd be great. Do we have a motion to approve the resignation of Ms. Godzik?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 400. Next we have is budget review. First up would be town meeting 4130.30. Mr. Brown.
All right. So obviously our last meeting was canceled. And so we were going to begin that budget review then. We've just kind of modified our meeting schedule. We should be right on schedule to meet with the budget committee as planned. This time of the year, it's tough. You know, we're still gathering information. We don't know what propane prices will be. Some of those big cost items like health insurance and dental and workers' comp. But we pretty much, have a good idea of the operating costs. And that's usually the position that we're in at this point in time. As we get closer and closer and working with the budget committee, things all start to come together late November and December. So it's too early to start talking about, where we're at with regards to tax cap. We're still working with some of the larger budgets, police and fire and boards and committees, getting their information in. But this evening, the ones that we have on the agenda, we have, again, most of our numbers together. So it's a good point to start the discussion and the review. Good opportunity for the board to hear about needs from the various departments. And that's usually been the process that we've followed at this time of the year. So the first item is the review of the town meeting. And we have Terry Brian here, our town clerk, tax collector, who's worked with myself and Karen putting together the town meeting budget.
Welcome.
I said something wrong. So you basically what you're going to see in the town meeting budget this year is that we've every single year this budget item changes, and it's due to the number of elections that we're anticipating. So in 2022 we will have obviously our annual meeting, but we'll be adding to the budget this year. We only had one item last year. It was the annual meeting. So this year we'll be having the September primary and the November election as well. So those are the increases. When you go down through, you see an increase over last year's, and it's really primarily, it's just driven by the fact that we know that we're going to have 2 additional elections. Terry's done her best at this point in time, putting together, what we believe the cost for support of the machines, the voting machines, software licenses, and we've, you can see that those are all reflected in the budget. The bottom line is we're looking to recommend $14,800, and this is $5,784 above the 2021. But again, really driven by two additional elections. We're still carrying $1,000 for election supplies. And every year, you never know, there's all kinds of reasons that we might need an extra booth, an extra table. There's always something that comes up. So
Troy, you mentioned a November election.
yeah, it's like November, right? So it'll be
Yeah. September, the primary, and then November would be the.
2022.
I think that's the governor's again.
I'm sorry.
The governor again, and the 2022 has 3 elections.
Oh, so it's for the November 2022 election.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was off a year.
Not
I'm
this
sorry.
November, next November,
I understand. I'm sorry.
next year. Just have one this year.
Do we have any comments, questions?
I can't pull those up, so I can't look at them.
So
So
Bob, if you
I'll save my
go,
questions.
if you go to the email that was sent earlier today by Karen, and just open up that attachment,
Yeah.
it might be easier for you, because that's what I have is 2 different windows open right now, so I can look at it.
Why don't you all that in a bag of chips?
And then if you go to the bottom, once you get it open, it's the 1, 2, 4, 5th tab over will say Town Meeting on the bottom. Looks like the largest line increase is programming support. And that's due to the number of elections, right?
Right.
And that increase is $3,500. You up and running or still waiting?
It's loading. It's got to be my internet here.
Yeah.
Carry on. I'll catch up.
Okay, sounds good. All right, any more questions about town meeting? If not, we'll go to the next one, which is town clerk 4140.10.
All right. So Terry, you have your notes on this, or do you want to go through it, or?
Well, we didn't do the wages or the health insurance or dental. That stuff we, kind of leave to Karen.
Well, I put it in for what we would be at right now if we had no changes.
Okay.
So it's at the present rate?
It's at the present rate, present people, yes.
And you've had one staff change, and so we've adjusted some of the benefits like health insurance and dental. So that's when you see a large increase or a decrease. It's driven by the change in personnel.
You'll see under the clerk wages, there's a tab for part-time option. This is what we discussed back in May. There's an attachment there that shows you some of the, the benefits of the 2 part-time. I also gave everyone a little packet today that shows job descriptions for each of the individuals in the office. It shows that the attachment that Troy put on there is also here as well. It shows you the 2010 and 2020 comparison of, how things have changed in the past 10 years. We did the 2020 because it's a full year as opposed to half of 2021. But there is also the online is increasing quite a bit too. So I did give you the online from January 1st up until today that shows you what we have done in online services as well. Motor vehicles, online and at the counter, we've done 9,439 vehicles. A lot of it now, like I said, a lot of it is online.
But of those 9,000, only 1,400 were online
Out of the,
on the motor vehicles?
no. wait a
Oh,
minute.
that's paperless,
Wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry, 2136.
Right. 2136 is the online. Year to date. The dogs for 2020 online were 546. The online dogs for up till now are 748. Most of the dogs are up to date. I think we only have one left. Probably. So there's a lot of numbers here, so that you guys can look at the differences and the staffing. I still feel that if we have the 2 full-time and the 2 part-time, it's definitely gonna cover for elections, for workshops, for any training that needs to be done, out of the office. Vacations, this week Pat is actually out on vacation, so it's Jennifer and I this week, so it makes a little bit, it's a little,
Hope we don't get sick.
no one's gonna get sick. Now you just cursed us. So, like I said, I just think that, again, this is gonna be able to, elections are getting to the point where I can't do the elections by myself. It needs to be 2 of us there. There's, most of the time, there's, 4 or 5 selectmen there. We have ballot clerks. We have, between 4 and 6 ballot clerks. I can't tend to all of them at the same time. At the end of the night, I'm trying to get numbers with the 2 moderators. I'm trying to get the books done with the checklist supervisor, the ballot clerks, and still try and get, everything picked up at the end of the night.
Oh,
So-
it's definitely crazy.
So there definitely needs to be 2 people there. With 2 part-time people, they can cover the office for the day and we don't have to close.
Okay, thank you.
Currently I come in early in the morning to do online and to do the balancing. So when I get here, I get my balancing and my work from the day before all balanced and everything done, closed out and balanced. And then by 7 o'clock, I'll start my online registrations. But the police department opens, so the lobby's open. Our window is open too. So if somebody comes in and needs a registration done at 7 o'clock, we still do it. If I'm here, I can just switch over and do a registration for someone online as well. So it gives them a little bit more time to be able to do their registrations too. So that's that. The software, do you want me to go through those or do you want to go through those? I mean, you have some avatar software, that's what we pay for our motor vehicles, dogs. It's also the Blue Book, which gives us all the up-to-date MSRPs on the vehicles so that we have accurate amounts when we're trying to do a registration. That program helps us with that as well.
And the increase is just the increase in their service?
She said that, when we called, it's usually about 5%. I think that's what it was last year too. So, dues and subscriptions, that's the New Hampshire Town Clerk Association and the New England Town Clerk Association. So those are $20 each. The printer cartridges, I have a printer in my office, so it's a 2-pack from my office, and then the girls each have to run all their registrations. They each have a printer, and the other 2 packs are for their printers as well. So like I said, it's registrations, the dog licenses, all the stuff that taxes. Dog tags and licenses. We ordered 2,000 dog tags this year, which we did 1,879 dogs. People got dogs.
A lot of dogs.
A
during
lot
COVID.
of dogs. So we ordered 2,000 dog tags for next year. That's the amount there. The postage is for the renewal notices that we send out every month. We send out between 400 and 500 renewal notices to everyone each month so they can do their registrations. So that's the boxes. I order the boxes from the post office, and we order one box. It's one box per month, and they, like I said, it's a box of 500. We get them from the post office. We have to put our own return address on it, but it saves us like $300 or $400 per box. So
Why is there such a large increase from 2021 to 2022 proposed?
The postage is going up next week.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
postage goes up next week to 58 cents.
Buy your stamps now.
Yeah, that's why I bought the
Have to go
boxes.
buy
Yeah,
it for us.
I have to pick up more boxes next week. Before I ordered them ahead of time so that they'd be in, and I would have them ahead of time. But they're going up. What is it now? 50.
It's like 51 cents. Like, no, 52.
Yeah. I think it's about 3 cents.
3 cents. 3 cents? Oh.
I think you said 3 cents.
So the boxes that you're talking about, are they at a particular rate per?
It's, what it is, they're not. We're getting the regular. Well, we're getting them for the rate that it is now, and then if I order them through a through a company, through the post office company, and they put our return address on them, they charge us more.
No, I understand, but like there's such a thing as forever stamps.
That's what we get.
So if you buy them now at the current rate, they're good.
Right. So I have 3 more boxes that I ordered last week at the current rate, which will get us through the end of this year. But next year's will probably be, because I didn't have it in my budget to buy 12 boxes.
But how much longer do we have to buy at the current rate?
I think that last Thursday was the deadline at the
Oh,
current
it's
rate.
over
That's
then.
why I bought the,
So it's a moot point.
yeah,
Okay.
unless we put stamps on all of them, but
No, what I was thinking is buy ahead,
right.
but whatever.
And save the $2,400 increase.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So like I said, we use those to do the mail out every month, and then when they mail them back in, we do the registration, and then we mail them back out to them, which each of their registrations has the dollar mail out fee, but it seems like that's getting smaller and smaller.
Can we allow people to go paperless?
We do that.
Do we give them a break?
No, because it's set fees.
Yeah.
So we don't do that.
They do it online. We still have to mail the registrations out to them.
Right.
So we're still paying for postage because we're mailing the registrations out to them.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we ordered, like you can see, we ordered 18 boxes. It's 12 boxes to mail them out on a monthly basis. We ordered 6 boxes for the ones that come back in. We do the registrations and we mail them back out to them. So that was the amount for those. The mileage and tolls is the 2 user group meetings, the 4 trips to Concord, and then the 1 trip to the conference, which is in North Conway. And who knows what will happen with the user groups. This year we did all the user groups virtual, so that worked out well. They're still doing trainings and stuff, which works out well, but I don't know how long they're going to do that, or if they're going to go back to the other, doing it the other way. So Seminars and conferences. There is one conference for the town clerk, which is required. And then there is one spring workshop that there's three in there. So each of the staff can go to the workshops as well.
I think it's important to mention that when you get into mileage and seminars and training, that we're showing, in this case, you see a $312 increase in seminars and conventions. But these lines were reduced last year because of COVID. So it's not like it's really an increase. We're just trying to get the funding back because we do plan on doing the training.
I think they were all cut in half last year.
Yeah. So I think you're going to start, you'll see that trend throughout all of the departments, but just be aware that they were cut in half because of COVID. So it's not like it is an increase.
Yeah.
But the reason it's an increase, we're trying to restore the funding prior to COVID.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to tax collection, 4150.40.
And so, again, I'll let Terry present if you have any questions, but just remember that the town clerk and the tax collection budgets, as far as salary and benefits, they're split 50-50. So pretty much you see the same trend going through as you start off, a big part of this budget, your salaries representing 50%. So if you see an increase in the health insurance down there, $8,937, that's shared. The other 50% of the increases was in the town clerk's budget.
I'm sorry, Steve, what was the number for tax collector?
Tax collector right now, Bob, is 4150.40. It's it's a few more tabs to the right. It's right next to information technology.
Got it. It just says tax. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's not really, other than the salary and benefit costs, there's really no big changes here in the tax collectors. We have $40 increase in the software support and a $20 increase in the dues and subscriptions. I think that's because you wanted to make sure you budgeted for your deputy.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it requires this year, you used to be able to get free membership if you had one registration.
Right.
And so now we think this year each person will have to have a registration. So,
Well, and that way also, if she has her membership, it counts as her years of service. As time goes on, instead of starting fresh when,
Makes sense.
and the clerks, they don't charge, they charge one fee for the town. The tax collectors charge per person.
Per person.
Yeah.
At $20, so it's not a lot of money.
No.
so the bottom line is there's an increase here over last year of $11,184. Total proposed budget $133,856.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions? Hearing none. Next is Sanitation Administration, 432110.
And Dave was not able to be here with us this evening. He's hopefully arriving at his vacation destination spot or have already arrived.
Thank you.
Good night. Have a
Thank you,
good
Terry.
evening.
Thank you.
A well-deserved one that he has not taken in several years.
No, and he was working away today trying to get things cleaned up. Even though he's on vacation this week, he will be coming back Wednesday. He told me to take care of some additional work, and then he'll go back to his place that he's staying. So So with Dave, the solid waste, I've asked Dave to go ahead and based on his staff today and the hours that, he plans these individuals to work, that's what he's budgeted. In reality, when we get out there in the real world and every week, everything changes. This person, is way sick, or this person's not able to work this Saturday. But we budget what we plan to be the schedule for 52 weeks. We do have an increase here in wages. We had performance reviews, but we also had some minor adjustment to some of the employees just to make sure that the wages were competitive. Those were previously approved by the board a few weeks ago. So that's, kind of resulting in the increase that you see here, just over $1,200 in wage increases. So they only have, and also it's important to understand the staff primarily are just part-time employees. There are no benefits with these employees. So this is straight salary, very little benefit. Minor increase in the overtime, $820. Again, this would be driven by just the wage increases that were given in 2021. Health insurance would be a decrease there, a nice one, $7,000. And again, that would just be an adjustment to the current enrollment of the employees that are eligible for health insurance. Same with dental, that's down $715. Electricity, we do, every year, we do a little spreadsheet. I'll open it up here. And so for all of our accounts, what we'll do, the way, the best you can do is we take for solid waste, for example, I take a look at the actual in 2019, the actual in 2020, and then we do a run rate to see how we're doing since July up to June. And I simply just take the average of those three. And that's the number that you'll see plugged in throughout this budget. That's my methodology. Anyone wants to come up with a better plan, welcome to it. But I will tell you that if you stick with this methodology consistently, it'll prevent those peaks and valleys. But I do, since we did this exercise, I learned last week that there is a proposed rate increase. So we're going to have to just go back and take a look at that. Also, I need to follow up with the Regional Planning Commission because I'm not sure where we're at right now with going out to bid for the electric supply portion of our bill. But I understand Eversource in their rate increase, I believe it's not just power, it's going to be distribution as well. There's no propane at this facility. Our building maintenance and repair down a little bit, $838 reduction. So we're basically, we know a lot of our costs. The septic tank, we know we're going to clean that on an annual basis. We do he has a pest control. Obviously, you want to have a very active pest control program down at that facility. Our fire extinguishers testing. And then we carry a $2,000 allowance for miscellaneous building repairs down there.
Have we ever evaluated the viability of solar for the town?
In fact, I had Jeff Blackwell met with a representative 2 weeks ago to take a look at the area that we cleared the trees, and it sounded like it was very promising. We're getting information to them, and everything seemed very promising, and they're looking forward to running the numbers and probably coming in and giving a presentation to the board.
There's enough square footage there to.
Yeah, they were very excited about it. So it's a perfect location. So it'll come down to, and there's a couple different ways of financing the cost. So that's what it'll come down to.
Is there any other area back behind that? would
There's
be-
not a lot, but I'm not going to say that there isn't some area that you could squeeze some ground mounted panels in, because it's not land that we can utilize. And it's, it's kind of surrounding the sawmill recreation facility, stormwater detention area. So that area needs to always remain cleared and open, and it's full sun. So, it's a possibility we could put more
And
panels.
that would feed into the grid no matter where the power was used.
So, yeah, I guess, I wasn't there that day, but the discussion was, you can feed it back to the grid, and it's probably the best way to do it, and just get your credits.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to power your own facility.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I believe you'll, this fall, we'll have the representative here that's done a lot of this work throughout schools and towns and cities in the state. Revision, I think it is. Yeah. So we were, let's see here.
You're at dues, 560. Cell 31.
So our equipment, another big unknown areas are equipment repair and maintenance. We are level funding that this year. Dave has a pretty good handle on the cost of maintaining his equipment, his preventative maintenance program. And, the biggest piece of equipment down there that we rely on 24/7 is the skid steer. And we purchased that. I think now it's going to be about 3 years old. So we're still a very new piece of equipment. His compactors and balers, I keep talking to Dave about, they're really old, but apparently they're just very basic equipment, and really just continue to keep running. Diesel fuel, the increase that you see here is not really due to usage or anything. It's just my projection, the best projection I can do. You'll see diesel fuel, I'm projecting at $3.09 a gallon. And we'll just have to keep, an eye on that. And
Yep.
I know the budget committee will take a look at what we're proposing for diesel fuel and our regular fuel.
What are we paying now?
So we're probably paying, I think I've been seeing it come in right around the $3 price mark. So looking down, demolition material up $20,000. Dave has he's gone through and he's taken a look at his run rates. So you've got an increase in, the new contract, but you also had, I believe, the budget committee did reduce these lines last year. So we're recommending, based on our run rates and estimated hauls and the tonnage and the contract price that we have. So that results in an increase of $20,000 on demolition material and $5,000 in our solid waste.
But didn't the rates come down with the new contract?
They did, but you get that they came down for this year, and then they'll slowly start going back up.
Yeah,
But
like
I'm
3
not-
years before we got back to the present
Yeah.
rate. So
Yeah.
is the increase more because of what was cut last year?
So it'd be a combination. They did do cuts last year on these two lines, and then it'll just be based on run rates.
Okay.
That's why I don't like-
It looks like they cut $10,000 last year.
Yeah, it's just a random cut, and this is what happens. So now a year later,
So we'll probably have $10,000 due to tonnage.
Yeah.
Because that place has been pretty busy since COVID hit.
and it hasn't stopped.
Like everybody's cleaning out everything.
Yeah, and it's the real estate market, the economy. Still, people are buying TVs. You get the all the waste that comes from buying new stuff. So you got the clean outs. You have to remember when you
Or online
sell a
purchases.
house, you have all the clean out activity that's going on before you sell, And then you got the new homeowners coming in
Mhm.
and they generate a lot of waste. So as the housing market continues to be the way it is, you're going to have that type of activity. You're also going to have the remodeling stuff going on, decks and pools and additions, interior remodeling, windows, doors. That's still going on strong, even though, I hear they're having a hard time getting material and the price of lumber went up. The workload still continued down there at the facility. So I don't foresee that changing the way things are today.
Looks like the cost of the halls went down.
Yep.
But the
Remember
tonnage went up.
contractually it went down.
The tonnage went up.
So the bottom line, you're looking at a $31,000 increase. Again, we had our wage increases. We've had, we know our C&D and our solid waste is up. Some of that's restoring what was cut last year. And that's pretty much what's driving your increase.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to road agent 4311.10. We have Mr. Kevin Brown with us tonight.
You want me to go with it then, Kevin? All right. Well, road agent budget's a little smaller than the actual highway budget. So we have, it starts off with the $1,000 stipend that the road agent receives. No changes there. Our consulting engineering services, there's two categories. We have an allowance for construction design and just general meetings with the engineer on an as-needed basis. I know right now, probably this fall, we're going to be reaching out to our engineer to take a look at a structure that we have, a culvert that is starting to show signs of erosion. And it's fairly substantial construction. It's stone, granite type construction, and not going to be easy to repair. So we'll need the expertise of an engineer to do that. And that's where this money is, is used. We have nowhere else to turn to get that type of advice. Stormwater management. What's that?
Is it the ongoing?
I'm sorry,
Where is this culvert?
Brenton, the far end of Brenton up by the end of Century.
Okay.
The
Culvert's good. It's just the
south
head
side,
wall is
when
what
it comes off, it goes under the head wall. It's eroding underneath the head wall, getting into the street. So we want to get it before it gets too heavy.
Our stormwater management, we've had this, this will be year 4 of the stormwater management program where we rely on an outside engineering firm that assists the town with preparing some of the information and doing, as we did this summer, going out in the field, doing some of the collection work and testing, monitoring. So that's that amount. That hasn't changed. And electricity, we already talked about using a 3-year average.
Excuse me,
Propane.
Troy, on
Yeah.
stormwater management, the actual expense for 2020 is not shown. Unless I'm looking at the wrong spot.
The 9986?
Yeah, so there, we just had the total for that line of 9,986.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the line item number 9 here on it says stormwater management, and it has 10,000 for the approved budget and 10,000 for 22.
Yeah.
But it shows nothing for 2020 actual. You see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't think, to be honest with you, I think so you would have had approved. We had $15,000 in 2020, and we probably didn't use any consulting engineering in the last couple of years. So the 9,986 is, I'm going to say 100% stormwater management.
Okay.
Do you spend any at Brook Forest at the one up there?
No.
I know that-
Oh, maybe just a little bit, because we did have Lou go up there and look.
I don't think it would be substantial because he didn't do
Yeah.
much.
Okay, thank you.
Building, so propane gas, we always will get a price for our propane with the school. And we haven't got that price yet. So right now we're just using last year's per gallon price, and the quantity is estimated based on our average. So that number, my guess, will actually increase. I don't think we'll be getting propane next year for $1.50 a gallon. Building maintenance, again, we're just using our 3-year average, not knowing really what the cost will be. So that 3-year average is $2,647, which results in a $626 increase for that line. So bottom line impact here, your highway road agent budget is $25,194, which represents a $1,090 increase.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions?
I think that's a pretty good number.
On all of these budgets, we're going to end up with a surplus in this year, correct?
This year's budget will be tight.
Will it?
Yeah, because the budget committee, remember, when we put together our proposed budget, we had made cuts. They took another 100,000 out of it, based on a lot of assumptions that, wouldn't be having. A good example is I can remember arguing with them over the price of gasoline. And I think at the time I was recommending $2.50 a gallon. And ever since March, since the budget's been passed, we've been paying $3 a gallon for gas. So, and then the other thing, at this time of the year, when we're looking at our budget, we also start looking at bottom line of the whole budget. And, we start to have some overruns in some other areas, and, we look for other areas to help offset that. So, it's about this time of the year where we start to get a better handle on what we're going to look like. And Karen and I will be coming in and giving the board an update on where we think things are, because it's time to do that. But
Several months ago, we talked about federal money, stimulus types of money. Is there any way of using any of that to?
So we're sort of a double-edged sword. You got to be. We're going to talk a little bit later about that subject.
Okay.
And when you're putting together an operating budget, we're trying to always have a budget that we're consistently budgeting what it costs to operate for 12 months. And we always need to be careful that if we go and remove an actual cost for 12 months and fund it another way, that you need to be prepared for the next year, that now you need to put that money back.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a trap that you get into, and it causes problems down the road. So I think what you'll hear me talk about is that we look at these one-time capital needs. So if we had a department saying, I need a $10,000 jackknife, and it's a one-time cost, and I put it in my budget, if we could address that jackknife with the federal funds, it'd be better than trying to fund it in the operating budget.
I just didn't want to lose sight of that.
Okay, we have any more input? Hearing none, we'll go to road maintenance, which is 4312.10.
And Let's see, so we've had our, wage adjustments, as we've said, with the prior departments. You see an increase here. Really, the first substantial increase you're seeing is the contractor services. Let me back up. The wages, just for our regular wages, we have a $9,900 increase. And so we've had just the adjustments that we've had for the performance review of our 2 full-time employees. But we're trying this year, and Kevin can talk more about this, that in 2022, we'd like to be able to have funding for 1 additional summer seasonal employee. We've not had really much luck at getting what we call the college kid or the high school kid. But, hopefully next year things will be in a better position. We'd love to be able to get 2, seasonal workers that can help the department out with, the basic labor stuff like mowing and trash collection during the summer season, so that the 2 full-timers can concentrate a little bit more on repairing the equipment and going out there doing the road patching and troubleshooting other stuff. So that's driving some of that $9,000 increase. But also did you take that out?
Sorry, the expenses weren't there.
Oh, yeah.
I just moved it.
Okay.
2020s weren't there.
And I think we also put in just some allowance here for fall, winter, and spring. So what we found is once the seasonal staff go away, in the fall, we still need help. Just having the flexibility of reaching out to and having, some assistance putting the plows and wings and getting the equipment ready. Same as, in the wintertime and spring, trying to put the equipment away and getting it, all prepped so we can store it away and get ready for the summer work. So that's where you see the $9,900 increase, some changes there that we're hoping to get funding for. And then the next increase is the highway contracted services, which you see an increase there of $7,333. And one of the things that we're trying to reflect is that for whatever reason, the contract that we have for plowing town hall, the police station, the new fire station, I think the way we funded this initially, we funded it for half a year almost, and it never got actually captured as a full year expense. So there's an increase there, going from the $12,600 to $20,000.
Because didn't we just jump on with the school plowing? Use the same vendor they had and just.
Right. Yeah. It's the same. And then I don't know, Kevin, do you want to follow the rest of the operational stuff? Do you want to try to, there's not much changes until you get down to vehicle repairs and stuff like that. But
I mean, our vehicle, we jumped on vehicle repairs. I mean, we still run an old fleet. I know we have some new trucks, but we still have some old ones. We average about 10, 11-year-old trucks. So we still need the maintenance money to keep those up. I don't know, where do you want to go? Where do we have increases?
so that was $10,000. So we'd like to budget $50,000 for vehicle maintenance. Last year it was at $40,000. And then we have a $10,000 increase. This looks like an increase. Let's not just skip over. Sorry, I skipped over road salt. We don't know our tonnage yet. So last year, we just got the same tonnage. We like to keep the tonnage estimate at 1,800, and we just don't know what the price per ton will be this year. My guess is it will go up.
Yeah, it's an average of $49.50. It could go up. The past 2 years, it's been $49.50 a ton.
Yep.
We do average right around 1,800 ton for the full season. That's been pretty consistent. Same with the sand. As our sand consistency, trying to use a lot more sand. Especially with stormwater management. We're trying to regulate how much salt we put down, but it depends on the year. We had 15 plowable events last year, 18 salting events. The average is 12. That's kind of what we've been going over a 3-year average.
Mhm.
But last year seemed to be more icy.
Icy than anything, yeah.
So it looks like your running rate right now is that you have about 20,000 left over, Kevin?
Well, we still have November, December.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, we mean for salt?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I have about 550 ton of salt ability to purchase. I'm sitting on about 350 ton. We could go to the end of the year and not go through any of that and not spend any more, or we could go through it all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those flip the coin.
How many storms is that good for?
What we have sitting right now, it depends. Like a good storm was about 100 ton, 120 ton storm.
So maybe
So
4 or 5.
3 or 4 good storms, and then you get the salting at night. You might go through 30, 40 ton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to cover the whole town if we have to do just a salt.
It's gonna be
only
slick
event.
in the morning.
So I would say, I don't want to say we're gonna have plenty, but we're looking good. We're okay with the salt money right now and the amount of salt we have. I'll pack up. I'll probably put another 100 ton in the main building, put another 250 ton in the smaller building, before it starts, before the end of the year, just so we're ready. And I'll fill the sand. I'll fill the sand bunker also.
so do you always use a 3-to-1 ratio?
Oh, it depends. It depends how cold it is.
Okay,
It's all about temperature. Salt below 30 degrees doesn't work. So add more sand, get more grip. It all just depends. If it's just all ice, you're gonna go more salt.
okay.
I mean, people like to see this. They like to see the spray, so we'll use some sand so you can see that we are applying. Let's show our secrets, but perception. But with stormwater management, we're trying to limit our salt. We're trying to cut back on it. We look into liquid calcium and such, and it's just too expensive for us. For the payback. If you see some of the larger towns, they only do the main roads. Well, we have one main road. You know what I mean? It would cost about $1,500 to apply it up and down Albuquerque per storm. You know what I mean? We don't use that amount of salt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the next increase, which is a little deceiving, is the highway block grant or our paving program. That shows that there's an increase of $10,000. So we're proposing, last year we raised 190. We didn't know where the block grant was coming in. Based on the letter I received, we won't know the exact block grant funding. Here, I can open up this letter. You'll see it on the screen. The problem with the state, of course, they're on a different fiscal year than us. So it's always difficult for us to try to estimate our highway block grant funding. Last year, everyone was very nervous about what the impact of COVID and people were, working from home. Basically, we all saw the highways shut down for a long period of time. But the correspondence we just received, it looks like our funding is going to, still be right around that $200,000 figure. So pretty amazing. So I think this year when we put together the budget, I told Kevin, I said, I think that we should try to restore the block grant to 200,000. And so that looks like it's an increase in your budget. But on the revenue side, we increase, anticipated revenue of 200,000. So this is an offset. This is a zero tax impact, but it's in your operating budget. We spent some time last week looking at our CIP plan, at our 6-year roadway management plan. And based on, we always tell everyone when we're putting together these 6-year plans that every single year, if you really want a plan that is addressing the needs of the town, every single year you're going to need to make some adjustments. So we traveled over some of the roads that Kevin had concerns about that were not in the 2022 schedule, and some that were out there in 2025 that he really felt we need to try to address in 2022. So this spreadsheet that we put together shows you the year that this work was planned in our recently adopted capital improvements plan. So you can see we've got 4 of the roads that were in that plan that we want to do work on. Recycling Way, we had some discussion about last year about trying to advance that. We weren't able to do it, so we're putting it in this year. That's what advanced that project from 2023 to the 2022 year. And then 3 roads that are in a certain neighborhood that were really out there in 2025, and this was brought to our attention when we were doing the work down there in Pilgrim. And these are 3 roads, are all connected, that definitely need attention. And we're not going to be able to wait until 2025 to get to them. You could, but I mean, the
Yeah.
deterioration is, I mean, I don't know how many patches you've done down there, and they're not going, those patches, they're sticking right now, but as soon as the ground freezes and the plows start going down the road, the patch comes out. We got
Yeah.
potholes all winter and all spring. So we've put together a plan here that's based on receiving $200,000 from block grant funding in 2022. The warrant article asking for $200,000. Some of these roads that are listed are eligible for road impact fee usage. So we have $25,000 anticipated in road impact fees. And because the work that we're doing down there at Recycling Way, some of that work can be funded from the recycling fund. So $435,000 worth of estimated cost. And we've come up with a schedule of $435,000 of offsetting revenue. Obviously, the big wild card here is the warrant article for $200,000. And I think last year we tried, we were able, the plan has always been to try to bring the 200,000 back. I don't think we've made it yet to 200. Last year we were able to have a $100,000 warrant article, but that was offset with the unassigned fund balance, so there was no tax impact. And I'm not saying that couldn't be a possibility this year, but that's a big number, $200,000 to try to fund 100% with the unassigned fund balance.
Are you going to bring these proposed roads back to the CIP at our next
Yes, we will. Yeah.
meeting? Thank you.
Okay. So actually not, for a department this size, for the work that it does, you have a proposed increase of $40,767. So
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to street lighting, 431630.
this will, right now, is projected to be a decrease of $391. Again, just using my 3-year average, and that's what it's coming out at this year. We have not, again, I'll have to go and, take a look at the proposed rate increase, and that this may change due to that.
Okay. Any questions?
Streetlights are always something that sticks in my craw. Not that it's a big deal, but so it's 13,811.62 is what
What we spent last in 2020 is what you're saying?
yeah, that was what was budgeted. I keep threatening Robert to drag him out and take a convertible tour around town and actually identify the street lights that are working and not working, because you get charged whether they're working,
Whether they're
not.
on or not. Exactly.
So, did you hear that, Robert?
I did hear that.
Do you know how many streetlights we have in town?
Is it linked on here? Yeah, I used to know that answer last. Let's see here.
We have 410. Am I reading that right?
Streetlights. We have 47 all in. Which
Like the
isn't-
one at,
You'd think you'd have more than that, wouldn't you? But yeah, 47.
the one at the intersection of Pinecrest and 3A, is that a state street light or is that a town street light?
I would say it's a town.
Okay, so the state doesn't provide any street lights.
I don't want to say that, but
Well, that's probably true.
yeah.
Um,
There's none going up 3A.
Hmm.
I can tell you that because with the flags up and there aren't any lights.
It's all right. We don't want them on 3A.
There you go.
Mhm.
I will tell you though, I know last year we were going through streetlights and you made the same comments about, how do we know if they're on or off? And I reached out to our police department and Chief Sergeant actually issued a department order and he asked all the night duty patrols to pay attention and they generated a list. We got like 6 or 8 and we were able to submit work orders and get those corrected. So I'm glad you brought that up and I will reach out to Chief Sergeant tomorrow. It's that time of the year where we could, we should do that probably every 6 months at least. And
Because some people don't want street lights.
when it goes out, some people are not going to pick up the phone and call you
And others will.
and others will.
Have we
It all
looked at,
depends where your bedroom window is.
have we looked at doing any LED conversion?
We haven't, it comes up every year. That's there's really always comes down to staff time and what the savings would be for this annual cost. I know there's savings and
Yeah.
you got a better light,
And life
but
expectancy.
but you do have to make that investment in infrastructure. So there's not, you wouldn't see the savings in the budget, but because you're going to need to invest in the fixtures and stuff. But
Who owns the street lights?
the town. Well, right now, Eversource owns the streetlights. If we
Eversource.
convert to LEDs, the town will then become owner of those lights.
So Eversource doesn't have a conversion plan. They do for everything else. when
They
it comes to
they do.
efficiency.
They have
They
a
have something tied into a street light.
no. They will work with you but they don't do the conversion anymore. They used to.
Mhm.
But now, if the town is going to do the conversion, we have to go out and hire our own private contractor. When we do it, we take ownership of that light fixture. But
I'm curious if they have a reduced rate that you can actually.
they would have a
conversion.
reduced rate, and obviously the failure of those lights is, once you do your complete conversion, you probably expect to have no more than 6 fail, and you replace those, and then you're good for 20, 25, 30 years.
I keep hearing that.
Yeah, I know.
Back of my mind.
That's what they told me in my kitchen when I switch all my LEDs, and then 5 years later they go. But
So
but they
there's-
are pretty reliable.
It'd be interesting to convert one and just see what the light quality's like, what the cost is.
Yeah. Just to see.
Is there is one of those 47 here close by?
Yeah, we have right here at the intersection of the state forest. That's a pretty busy intersection. Do you know other intersections that?
I think there's one on the top of Pearson and Albuquerque.
XP on the end there. Where else?
Yeah, yeah. It might be worth. It's a good point. I mean, if we took a look at some of our busiest intersections, the highest traffic count,
Yeah.
taking a look at maybe at least convert those, just see what the light quality is and what the cost is to convert. And
Is there more to a conversion than just switching the bulb?
Yeah, there's a whole firing mechanism between sodium vapor versus LED. So it's the whole guts of the light.
I think I think the arm, most likely the arm would remain
But everything,
on the pole,
the guts of the,
but
the
the
cabinet.
head would totally be removed and a new head.
What we need is somebody with some electrical supply experience to school us on this.
To whom do you speak?
Gee, I don't know. Maybe we could get Mr. Weber to look into it.
Corporate
I will do it.
sponsorship or something.
We don't do those.
Oh,
You don't do those?
We got rid of our lighting arm.
Well, thanks for nothing.
That's for nothing.
I think we should reach out to Eversource and just see, what they have.
Well,
Thank you.
Makes a difference. We did the garage over last year and took out all the incandescent and put in the LEDs.
It's a lot cooler in there too, isn't it?
Bright, super bright.
Bright and it's cool.
instant
Instant.
light, no waiting 20, 30 minutes for it to heat up and turn on full brightness. So when you're coming in there at 2:00 in the morning, instant light.
The panels, so they're on angle and you don't have any shadows. Really nice.
So did the electricity line item go down?
Again,
Runs his air
I do know
conditioning
that
too.
on a lot of the gas stations that I've been working on that they're renovating, they're changing a lot of those lights out to LEDs, and they are so much better. There's such significant difference on those.
Yeah, there's a better
They
quality of
swap the
light.
heads out. Yeah, the heads are swapped out, and so I know it can be done. It's just finding someone to do it if it's cost effective.
Another-
Do we have any more input on streetlights?
Just saying that,
Biggest topic so far.
Hmm.
as we talk
Took a
later
while.
this evening about the federal funding that, we were mentioning, these are types of projects where using that federal funding is, it's a one-time expense. It gets something off the list. And it's no cost to the taxpayer and has a long-term benefit.
Yep.
So this could be a good use of those funds.
All right, we'll move on to accounting, 4150.10.
You want to do a public comment?
Oh, yes. Seeing that it is 7:47, we'll open it to public input. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to give input? Hearing none, we'll close public input. And now we will move on to accounting, 4150.10.
Minus $2,000 bottom line. All right. So wages driven $5,000 increase. Again, this is just an adjustment as we went through our performance review. So updating those numbers to reflect those increases. This covers the finance director, the bookkeeper, the office assistant, those positions in the selectman's office.
Who's the office assistant?
Donna.
Oh, hi, Donna.
Basically, the big savings is in health insurance.
Yeah, we had a change in health insurance due to census and big savings there, $10,000.
Yep.
That's good.
Due to census?
Well, I call it the annual census is when you reach out to employees and have them sign up
Oh,
for
okay.
what their, family plan, 2-person,
Okay.
not to take it. So
Open enrollment time.
open enrollment's a better term, yeah. Software support, just estimating right now. Actually, did you receive written
On
confirmation?
PMSIs, I received.
Okay, so that's an actual.
On fixed assets. I don't, but that's gone up every year, like $40 or more. 5% it goes up? Yeah. So I think I might have only done last year's plus 3, but I didn't increase it last year. I think I used what we had the year before. I'll go back and check that though.
What is BMSI?
That's my accounting and payroll software.
So I think the next, substantial, if you want to call it substantial, is down at mileage and tolls. That's showing an increase of $1,238. the, really what's driving that is, the town clerk, tax collector, they make daily trips to the bank, and, this is what they do they deposit our cash, the checks and everything. And the budget committee had made a reduction to this line. We're trying to restore it. So it's not being driven by, any anticipated new mileage or travel. It's to
They
cover the
reduced it
cost.
because they thought there'd be less window transactions, so there'd be less cash to have to go to the bank every day.
Yeah, but I don't
There's-
know why, because they still go every day.
I think that
so,
was probably the.
Yeah.
There's a requirement. I mean, for the tax collector side, there's a requirement that if state law, I believe, is $1,500. If they have $1,500, they are required to deposit that day. And the auditing services, we have a contract, a 3-year contract with Melanson. And so in 2022, the contract will be $26,000. And hopefully you'll be meeting with our auditors here sometime soon to tell you how. Year, 2020?
Yeah.
And I believe we knew that increase was coming, right? They
Well, it's
sent
a
us letter
yeah,
or
it's
something.
a
Yeah.
contract. Yeah. But bottom line here, and again, it's the health insurance adjustment. This budget is down $2,049.
Good job, Karen.
Thanks.
Do we have any comments or input on the accounting?
No?
Okay, hearing none, we'll go to revaluation of property, which is 4152.10.
So why is this one up $214? Software.
Software, yeah.
So we have a contract with MRI. This board approved a contract. It goes from year 2021 all the way to 2025
Avatar.
with Avatar. And of course, that 2025 gets you to that year when we're doing the update. In addition to this budget here, when we entered into this contract, we will have a warrant article that we try to appropriate at least $25,000 a year to put into the expendable trust fund for that work to be done in the update year in 2025. So last year, we had the warrant article, created the trust fund. Each year we'll have a warrant article. That's the plan, to put $25,000 in.
So when it gets to that 5-year renewal, we're not hit with the big
Mhm.
one-time
Right.
hit.
Mhm.
We used to budget all of that costs in the operating budget, and then we'd encumber funds and we just kept rolling money forward. Probably really not a good budgeting practice. The expendable trust fund is the way to go. So yeah, the bottom line here, $27,210, an increase of $214, resulting really from the Avatar software. Avatar is our assessing software.
And that's up 3%.
And is that an estimate at this point?
We
in
took
time?
last year's plus 3%, yeah.
It's an estimate. So at some point in time, we will get, as we get closer to December, we'll get a letter. But usually it's usually in the ballpark.
Okay, do we have any questions or input on revaluation of property? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the Board of Selectmen, which is 4130.10.
Okay. So this budget includes my salary. I'm the only employee in this budget. So you can see that is an increase of $2,142. That's driven by my contract. Nothing substantial here. Selectmen expenses must have been, I don't know why I got one.
Back to where we were.
I went back to the averages. So a 3-year average looks like these items, which are flowers for employees, elected officials, our volunteers, plaques, awards, retirement gifts. That's on average, we spent $1,249. Nothing else is changing except for down in clerical support. This is a large increase, $6,200. It's being driven by, that we made a change where the Board of Selectmen, the Budget Committee, and the Recreation Commission, we signed a contract with Matthew Sullivan, a certain dollar amount of $9,500 a year, and he covers all those meetings. The other problem that I have is for years we had the Zoning Board of Adjustment where we had a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment would do the meeting minutes. And then we had Chairman Riley that was doing a lot of the clerical work, 100% of it.
Mhm.
And so with his resignation, kind of catching us, in a spot where we didn't have any support for Zoning Board of Adjustment, I reached out to Michelle. Mr. Riley had actually worked with Michelle he brought her on board about a year ago or less. And so as of right now, we're paying about $300 a meeting for her services, which is some administrative support and taking the meeting minutes. So that's where you're seeing an increase in this line, as well as the new contract we had. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to the board about, and you're going to be hearing probably from the Zoning Board of Adjustment as well, is having this clerical support brought in-house with our staff, as much of it as we can. And we just haven't been able to really take steps in that direction because I was waiting for the building inspector's position to be filled. We've changed that position to a salaried position, and that person is aware that it's mandatory that they attend all ZBA meetings. So we'll have that communication established with the zoning board. And then my anticipation is that we'll have Jeff and Donna start working very closely together with addressing some of the ZBA administrative work. What I don't know is if 100% of that administrative work will be taken on between the two of them, and we'll still contract out something like, say, meeting minutes. So that number, as we get closer to November, that number may be reduced. Most likely will be. And I'll be working with the board, before any action's taken, so that you fully understand what's going on in that department.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems like an awful lot of money to pay for a meeting. $300, that's way more than we pay for anybody else.
Yeah, it's the meeting, but it's also doing the administrative work. So preparing the certified letters, the agendas, putting together the meeting portal, like the Board of Selectmen's portal, all that stuff. Mr. Riley used to do all of that. He used to go to the post office and he just did all the work. He was an amazing volunteer. But going forward, it really isn't a responsibility of a committee volunteer member to, their job is to chair the meetings, show up, do their duties. But the administrative work really should be done by staff.
Yeah. And that would save us $3,000 if we could do that.
It would.
Yeah, well, if we did bring it in-house, we'd probably have to compensate our person for doing it, but I think we could save some money and still compensate her. Rather than piling more work on for less money, or for the equal money.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'll definitely be talking to the board about this topic matter.
How often does the ZBA meet?
Well, we budget 10 meetings a year. They could meet 12 times, but
How long is a meeting?
They're all over the place.
all over the place. So they can
2 hours average?
Yeah, they could be 2.5. But I would say right now, I don't really watch them or anything, but my guess is that they're about an hour and a half, 1 hour if they're quick couple sheds.
Yeah, that $300 figure seems a little high to me.
Yeah. Okay, so Board of Selectmen,
Need to up that one.
$8,769 increase, but we'll,
Well, 6,200 of it's coming from one line item.
Yeah.
Now, does it make sense to move the rec portion of that number into the rec budget? I understand that, ZBA, Selectmen, and the Budget Committee fall under us, but should that stand alone in rec's budget, or doesn't it make sense?
you could move it around, but I think the reason that it's here, and I kind of like it, I think that the selectmen have made a decision to provide clerical support to boards and committees. And though that request could come from a conservation commission, it can come from any, your heritage commission. And it should come to this board, and you should decide whether or not you're going to provide paid support or if you're going to designate that in-house to certain staff. And I think that's why it's there. It's been there, prior to my time.
I was just curious because rec never.
And I think that's why it's there. I think it's an issue that where the selectmen want to make a decision of what type of support they want to provide boards and committees, because not all the boards and committees have any support.
Correct.
Selectmen salaries, there's no cost of living built into that.
You could propose it.
No, that's all right.
Okay, do we have any more questions or input on the Board of Selectmen budget? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to legal expenses, 4153.10.
I just did a 3-year average here. We've seen this line item. I think we've got it in a good spot right now. I know at one point in time it was a little higher, but just recommending 29,721, which is the 3-year average. So it actually is a reduction of $279 over last year.
Are we on track this year to spend the money that we've allotted for this, or are we having overflow?
Yeah, we're doing well. We're doing
Looks like we
So
spent
far-
about 20,000.
I don't consider that doing well.
no. So last year, 2020 actual was 19,667.
Yeah.
We're sitting right now on expenditures year to date of $9,000.
For 2021.
Yeah,
So we're going
it's
to
been a good legal year. So, remember though, we also have the $50,000 that was appropriated for the Pennachuck rate increase. So I've been able to charge all that legal cost to that specific warrant article.
Yeah. And what about the St. Cobain?
In St. Cobain, we had that, 1 or 2 meetings, but
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of activity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think we're going to have, from what I know is going on, with no surprises, we're going to have a good turn back, maybe a healthy turn back there.
Mm-hmm. It's not the worst thing.
No, it's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on legal expenses? Hearing none, we'll move on to welfare vendor payments, 4445.2.
Yeah. And I left this it here for discussion, but because there is an account in our budget, but did we do it this year or 2 years? This year was the first year, or
2 years, I think.
2 years ago, we created the expendable trust fund. We funded it initially with $10,000. We have not spent a dollar of those funds, so they're still there. So I'm not proposing to raise or appropriate anything for the operating budget. We'd use that expendable trust fund.
Okay, do we have any questions on welfare vendor payments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to patriotic purposes, 4583.10.
No change. There's annual appropriation here of $1,550. That's driven by looking back at the 3-year average. This primarily, this line item is for Memorial Day. Every year there's a little bit of, something different. So we've had flags, we've had the flag holders, we've had wreaths with the flowers, plants. I know that Road Agent Brown has told me that we might want to start looking into replacing some of the flags on 3A. They're starting to get faded a bit.
They
So
look good though. I mean,
They do.
It's such a wonderful thing to come into town and
Oh, yeah.
see the flag.
Yep.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
I
I would
think-
love to see it from town line to town line on 3A.
Yeah.
Kevin. The road agent may not, but I think it'd look great.
But I do think this year, as we get closer to the year end of the budget, that's one of the things that Kevin's got his eye on, and seeing if we can, start replacing a third of them or even a half.
Truck to put them up.
Let the record show that the road agent just passed out.
Up and down the ladder 27 times. Have Josh do it.
Just hold the ladder for him.
Yeah, he's young.
Curious how much it would cost. How much does it actually cost for a flag and the holder?
So we have the bracket now mounted. So I think you're looking at about $30 for set up the pole and the flag and the bracket. I would say $30.
$30 per?
Yeah.
How many
Right.
poles do we have,
Rick?
Kevin?
I think we have 27 brackets up, but we're not filling them all right now.
Town line to town line, how many poles do we have?
I'll count them and get back to you.
Rich, Rich will
7,250.
cover that on his convertible tour.
That could be
Yeah,
a
it's
great
a
thing for a
convertible
convertible tour.
Yeah.
To the street lights and come telephone poles.
I think we have like 21 up now. I believe.
21.
Yeah.
Are they cotton or are they nylon?
They're, I don't know, what do we think? They're nylon, I would
I
say.
think they're nylon, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that they're fading. They look good. They're in good shape. We had to zip tie some of the poles, some of the brackets. They're just getting tired.
I think they're 3 years old now.
Yeah, third year up. Yeah.
And when you leave them out, like we were putting them up, taking them down, it's very labor intensive. And the feedback we got is that, like, why are you putting them? We'd like to see them up Memorial Day and leave them up until Veterans Day.
Well, we take them down and then we put them back up for veterans.
Yeah.
That, for that one.
Flags never go out of season.
No.
Nope.
Okay. The last budget review is debt services, 4711.10.
So we're budgeting. I got all confused today and was like, this can't be true. But we're budgeting for year 2022, and you'll see it's our payment number 4. So it'd be 4 years into the bond payment for the fire station. So $130,000 for principal and $132,188 for interest. We carry a $1 allowance just to keep the line item there for tax anticipation, but our cash flow continues to be exceptional, and we continue to maintain a very healthy unassigned fund balance. So there's been no need to borrow money in anticipation of taxes.
We're paying $130,000 in interest on the fire station. 32,000.
In 2022, you'll pay $132,188 in interest.
All right, Kevin, you need to wake up. It's my turn to pass out. Wow. When you said 7 years, we can look at refinancing that.
Yeah, I think 10.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And hopefully hopefully when that time comes that you're able to refinance, hopefully the interest rates will will be as they are today, but
Yep.
you probably, whoever's sitting here at that point in time will probably be saying, wow, what a good deal those old selectmen negotiated on that interest rate.
I don't know about that.
It'll be.
Okay, do we have any more input on debt services? All right, Mr. Leary, wake up now.
I got some land I'd like to sell.
So next we have a public hearing for the cable franchise agreement. So I'd like to open the public hearing. Mr. Brown.
All right, I'm gonna hand it right over to Mr. Brunel, will probably give you a quick summary of the proposed cable franchise agreement that he's been working with Comcast over the last several months.
Welcome.
I get to sit here for a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll walk through a little bit of the highlight. The franchise contract is very similar to the ones we signed 10 years ago or so. A couple highlights are the Comcast will be doing a PEG capital investment as they've done in the past. We asked for $60,000. They gave us $60,000 in a grant. The only caveat is that we have to move from analog to digital, which was our plan anyway. They will also do an additional investment in the system to convert their end to digital because, again, it's their requirement, so they're making that investment. With that project would be finished within the first half of next calendar year. The franchise fee is still as it was set in January of 2012, 2%. We didn't increase it. We left it the same. Obviously, that's an action you folks can take if you decide to do that. We're not recommending that. All the other language in the contract is about exactly the same. The only difference is technology's changed. They changed some terminology and stuff like that, but for the most part, it reads very much the same way. It goes into effect when you sign it. I think the contract I shared had a date of August 9th on it, but that's because that was our meeting plan, but we'll have to change that date before you folks sign it. But that is pretty much the overview. And just for the public folks too, you need to remember that the PEG franchise contract only covers cable TV. It has nothing. It does not involve our internet services or our telephone services or any other services Comcast provides. It's just television. And obviously, subscriber rates are going down. So, it's another thing to take into account.
Cutting the cable.
Cutting the cable, going over the internet. But I know folks have approached me, what can we do to improve internet services? The franchise fee has nothing to do with the internet services. They're completely unregulated.
So the biggest concern is just people cutting the cord. And
yeah, and that,
viewership.
right. Less viewership, which means, our current franchise fee at 2% has been funding the cable community fairly well over the years. But as that number goes down, it may require us in the future to look at other ways to fund the services we're doing to keep the level set. But as of right now, if we look from this year and over the next year or two, we're in good shape, especially with that investment they're making with the equipment. But I think next year we may want to start thinking about above this, what do we do from a town funded part of the process? But we can take that till next year and kind of talk it through.
Okay.
Is there anything, one-time expense types of things that we discussed earlier with the streetlights? Is there anything that we could use some of those funds on a one-time basis that would help us long-term as a town?
So that's what we're using the $60,000 fund for. That's a capital investment that's coming from Comcast. So we have to use it for equipment.
Okay.
So, and we just went through all of our equipment and we've made a kind of a shopping list and we're pretty comfortable with that number. And I'm not sure that we need anything else outside of that. Now, if we start talking about expanding services or covering things that may require additional capital investments outside of the cable delivery, that may be a possibility, but nothing comes to mind right now.
This is probably not on topic, but a couple of things. Is everybody in town available, or can everybody in town, every household, get high-speed internet?
My understanding is yes.
Okay. With the towers that we have up,
Mhm.
do we have an opportunity there to shop that for putting up a cell tower?
So the towers that went up for the public safety are not classified as cell towers. They're not constructed to hold that kind of weight and
Oh, okay.
capacity. There may be options to do other public safety services, a single antenna or two, but when you look at a cell tower, it's a multi-array, and
Yeah,
that's a lot of load on that tower. And
okay,
these towers were not designed to do that.
okay. Thank you.
But we're open to it. If a company wants to come and put a tower up, we got space for it.
Is that something that I think we have pretty good coverage right now in town?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Verizon tower is right at Morgan, and there's also a tower. I believe it's the Londonderry side. So we do have fairly good coverage. But Litchfield's interesting because we have that little valley, so we do have the shadows. But for the most part,
Albuquerque has one. There's one on Page.
I think there's a cell tower, like across from the old town hall on the Merrimack side.
on the Merrimack side there is, yes, yeah. There's quite a few. If I've had the pleasure of being up on top of Rocky Hill High, and there's a lot of towers you can see that are cell towers today. So they're all over the place. But they're multi vendors. So some not, we don't always. Verizon's over here. I think T-Mobile may be there too. There's that kind of thing going on. And now with the changeover from 3G to LTE to 5G, you're seeing also coverage is dropping because they're starting to turn off some of the 3G coverages. So that's why we're starting to see some holes as they start building out the 5G network, which is continuing to improve. So, but back to your question about high-speed broadband, there's two providers in town, Consolidated and Comcast. And between the two of them, you can get what they classify as high-speed broadband.
Thank you.
Any other comments, input? Hearing none, I'll open it to public input. Any members of the public that want to provide input on the cable agreement? Hearing none, we'll close public input. If we have nothing else, we can close the public hearing.
And then, I just think you could have a motion to approve the franchise agreement. And we don't have it available for you to sign this evening, but we'll go back, update it, and
With the date, yep.
the date, signature block.
So do we have a motion to approve the cable franchise agreement?
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's.
Second?
We have a second by Ms. Queenan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Larry,
All right.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0. John, thank you for all your work on that.
Thank you.
The next item we have is library impact fee request. Mr. Brown.
All right. Well, we were, I think, over the last 3-4 weeks, we've received correspondence from the library trustees, and we had a meeting scheduled to talk about the impact fees. That was canceled. So I wanted to, put this back on the agenda. Wasn't really sure where the board was actually at with in terms of the library impact fees. We did address the high school, and the board authorized the release of those funds. When we talked about the library impact fees, I think the position of the board was that we were not going to release them based on the feedback we received from BCM Planning. BCM Planning was the consultant that the town used back in 2014-15. I think actually in my discussions with him, he had been working with the towns somewhere around 2012, all the way up to 2015 in developing and updating the impact fee program. So when I shared with him the request the library trustees had sent to the Board of Selectmen about the construction of a pavilion, he came back with a written document addressing the high school question and the library. He was fairly confident in his determination that it was not, in his opinion, an appropriate use of the library impact fees to put towards the construction of a pavilion. And he gets into details in his letter about the methodology that was used at the time the fee was calculated. And in his opinion, it's not his opinion because he did the work. The work was based on an extension of the existing library. So this would be a physical construction of a building with a roof, heating system, permanent space. or the design and construction. So a portion of the fees could be used for design and construction of a new library. And I know that there had been some discussions going on for, I've seen documents laying around town hall where there was conceptually a plan to build a new library behind the town office and police station back here. So impact fees could be used towards that project, but he uses the terminology that a portion of those fees, because you couldn't use 100% of the impact fees for the construction of that new library. That information was then shared with the library trustees, and they have reached out and asked for reconsideration. And so that's why I put it back on the agenda, just for discussion. I'm assuming we have a library trustee representative here this evening, and
Come on up and join us.
We finish this discussion.
Yes, so I did have the opportunity to speak both with Bruce Mayberry and Steve Buckley, because I'm trying to understand impact fees. There's an algorithm to it, I guess, for lack of a better word, that I'm not quite understanding. So Bruce's last response to me in his email was, listen, the selectmen are asking for my opinion, my consult opinion, but they're the ones that vote, not me. So I think your ideas are interesting. Why don't you bring it to them? So, and they'll make a decision whether they're going to follow, the information that I give them, or whether you've pledge your case. And, so let me first start off by saying my name is Cecile Bond-Voudois. In my second term, as a 3-year term as a library trustee, I started off as an alternate. And I'm just saying that because I've been with the library for a while. So I've been trying, I think I have a keen sense of what they're struggling with. So we do have a significant space deficiency. Back in 1924, we had, I believe, 476 people that lived in Litchfield, and we're now up to, sometimes I hear 8,300, sometimes I hear 8,600. But, we're using the exact same space. So the problem is we're trying to not go to the taxpayers. We're trying not to put something in front of the taxpayers to pay for it, because we have all kinds of other municipal things we're paying for. It's correct that we were included in the plan to potentially build a library. When I spoke to Steve Buckley, he said, based on my knowledge of the Litchfield community, municipalities are very tough to get through to the voters. So he said, I think your approach is modest, and it's a better approach than appealing to the taxpayers to build a new library. So what I wanted to present to you folks tonight is the issue that we're up against. So really, if you look at specifically what is it that we're struggling with, it's the programming. We have a large number of children and adults in our programs. If we're talking just about browsing, people coming in to browse, I would say the deficiency is less of an impact. The real impact of our deficiency is the children's programming, the adult programming. We have a number of programs that we do. We only have the capacity of 32 people in the downstairs room, the children's room. And we have roughly estimated, well over 100 children or people participating. And then they bring, the parents, the grandparents, the siblings. We can't accommodate it. So we have to limit it. We have to have people sign up. We sometimes, if we can, we'll run the program 2 or 3 times. But we are a growing community. We have been growing. It's not new development I'm here to talk about tonight. It's ongoing new residential development. So we're trying to find some immediate supplemental space. Now, I want to back up by just reminding everyone in case they weren't aware. But back in 2011, when Steve Buckley was town attorney, we were able to use the impact fees for the fencing. We used to have like the old construction fencing, but that was not safe for the book, for children coming in the summer programming. So we have that very nice, I don't know if it's wrought iron or black fence. And that was because we wanted to be able to bring kids out, be safe, and allow everyone to be outside because the summer programs were so large. So we were able to use the impact fees for that. So the pavilion, which is a year-round program, it is a year-round structure. It's going to, it's going to allow the covering. We can fit chairs and tables underneath it, would allow us to serve all of the patrons coming to a program. So for example, just to give you a sample, we have the Spooktacular program, the Polar Express, which is in December, the partnering with the Christmas in Litchfield, the Egg Hunt. The Egg Hunt alone brought in 129 people last year. During the pandemic, we ran the children's program outside, out of the trunk of a staff member. And we used a shovel to create a trailblazer trail through the backwoods. And that's how we continue to keep the program going. So I come to you tonight to say that we are trying hours, right? Children's program might go for 2 hours one day, and the yoga chair for an hour, and the book club an hour. So we're talking about a portion of time we're trying to get almost conference room access, and that would serve as our conference room, which is like a component of every library. And we're just trying to also keep the noise level down, right? Libraries are supposed to be quiet. And we did have one gentleman that emailed us that he found the library very disruptive and noisy and chaotic. So what we're trying to do here tonight is just at least have you understand where we're coming from, that we're trying to approach this in a way that is sensible. It's going to be a solid structure, and it would allow year-round usage coupled with the fence. The fence provides the safety, but now we have a structure where people can be under that we can use year-round that would really help us to meet that immediate need that we have. And we also feel that, if the pandemic continues, we would still be able to keep pace if we had a structure like that. We wouldn't be as much in that crunch of having to shut down things. So that's why I'm here tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I've learned a lot through Steve and Bruce on this. So I am happy to answer what I can. And I would just ask for reconsideration. We truly are trying to think outside the box. We also understand that trying to get a new library built. Steve Buckley explained to me, like when I said, but Londonderry has a new library in Hudson. And he's like, places get like a $5 million donation, and that starts it. And that's what the town would need. And the other thing that I recognize is not every town member uses the library. Not everyone is a patron. So we want to honor that, just like I no longer have kids in school, I'm still going to help pay the school bill, but still not everybody accesses the library, which is why, we're trying to keep it off, out of the voting booth and use something. The whole reason why we need this pavilion is because of the impact of growth in our programming.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
Any comments, questions from the board?
With respect to understanding impact fees, there's no understanding impact fees.
Thank you, Rich.
You might as well give up. And that's why we're sort of dependent on professionals,
right,
to give us, because you just can't wrap your head around it. Question though, with respect to your pavilion, where would you have that?
So it would be in the front.
Where the tent was this summer?
I don't want to say because I'm not sure. The gentleman who gave us the quote or the estimate, spoke with Vicky. She knows exactly. There's a specific place it has to be.
Okay.
Because I believe the leach field is on the side where the
Yeah.
tent is.
Yeah, that's what we have to.
That was my concern, you
Yeah.
know.
No, we're aware. We're very aware of the structure, and it would fit where it would cause the least damage. I almost want to say we might need to remove a tree that's rotting. But the other thing I think is worth mentioning, since you say that, Rich, I don't know if everyone's aware, but we absolutely cannot expand. And in fact, Bruce Mayberry said that in his letter to me. He said, I understand the deficiency in the library. It's been for a number of years. He said, I understand what you're up against with your constituents that may not want to fund a new library behind the town hall and fire department. And he said, I understand you can't expand physically with a foundation. Now, the pavilion will have it's going to be it's not going to be, I don't think, sitting on sonotubes. It's going to be a solid structure. It was estimated at $32,000. So it's going to be a very solid structure. But it would just meet that immediate need for the programming piece. And as far as browsing, while it would be great to have, we can't allow people to tutor. Vicky gets calls for people to tutor, and we don't have any conference room. So we would use this as well for our after school program and our, kids book clubs. So.
What I struggle with is not the need of it, because I can definitely see the need. It's if impact fees get challenged and we get lost, the selectmen need to pay those impact fees back. So it's that whole risk portfolio that we as a board have to sit down and look at is, we have Bruce who came back and said this is how he interprets it. He's the one that wrote the impact fees. And if we ever get challenged, it's in a court of law. How does it come down? Did we have legal counsel chime in at all?
I did not know. But I mean, I think what, like you said, that we have written correspondence from the professional who actually spent at least 3 years working with the town of Litchfield and its officials in writing the methodology to determine what that impact fee calculation would be.
Is that Bruce?
That's Bruce. And so I go to him because he's, he understands, he knows how he calculated. And I think the message that he sent in his letter that really had the greatest impact on me is that, look, we were basing the impact fee on the cost of new construction at $350 per square foot. And this pavilion, which, you can say what it is, but it is seasonal. We do live in New England, so it's going to be a seasonal structure. And that's about $52 a square foot. There's a big difference. So when we've been taxing people who come into this town, build a new home, and we're taxing them a library impact fee, and the basis of that was a $352 cost per square foot to address the deficiency in the library. To me, that was a substantial addition, to the library or a new freestanding building that can be used year-round with climate controlled everything. It wasn't a pavilion. And I think that's where the concern is of being challenged and someone stepping up, rightfully so, and saying, I don't mind paying the impact fee. I paid my road impact fees and you guys paved Talent, you paved Cutler. I paid my fire impact fees and you designed and constructed a new fire station. I paid impact fees for police and we've done some conceptual engineering plans. I didn't pay an impact fee to build a pavilion. So, and that's the concern, is that we could find ourselves in front of, some legal action. And if it ended up being that we misuse those funds, we're going to be responsible for reimbursing those funds, not the library trustees, the Board of Selectmen. I just think there's a big risk in taking that.
Ms. Queen?
I have a few things. I am a member of the Historical Society, and I'm trying to absorb as much as I can as I sit there. But I don't, at times when they talk about that library that was donated, there was a contract with it of what could or could not be added to that library. So I would say we need to look at that before anything. Is this attached to the building? Is there going to be a door going out or is it a separate? Okay. Well, I'd still look at that document just to make sure.
Okay.
And then
That's an interesting history, by the way,
yeah.
how the library came to be.
Yeah.
But
With that's the pursuing and all
Yeah.
that, Cutler Road bypassing the traffic. I don't know, even if the pavilion went up, I'm thinking, I don't know if you have adequate parking. I don't know what's there now.
We do. I mean, we're serving.
If all of a sudden
yeah.
you go from 30 to 100, you said 32 to 100 potentially. So that's something that we would have to look at too. I also looked at the zoning ordinance. I looked at all the past warrant articles, which are in sync with the current zoning ordinance. I just wanted to make sure it didn't deviate. And the last thing it did was point to this zoning ordinance 1301, which really says what you have said about you have to increase the domain. It has to be capital facilities, which is probably why the fence went in, but it has to really increase the floor space of the building, right? You have to, what does it actually say here? Contingent to substantially expanding the facility space, right? And over here it says the same thing. You have to have the capital facilities, for the principal structure, it has to increase the space. So the zoning ordinance is backing up what Mr. Mayberry was writing as well.
So how does it not increase the floor space?
I think it has to be part of the same building, right?
It does. It
But
does.
this is a
That
temporary
we
building.
we are aware of, and
It's not a capital improvement on the building itself, though,
Right.
right?
and that was the language they used with the fence, was that we were increasing space, by
But is the
putting
fence
that
capital
fence up.
improvement of the property?
Yeah,
It's,
I question whether putting up a fence increased allowable square footage of, the library.
Right.
I mean, I
That's the
understand the
past,
thought
but
process behind it because now you
I
have green
understand
space,
that, but
which is it's fenced in, it's contained to use it. I can see where they drew the lines. I just don't know if it was the
Yeah.
right use.
I think that you have an impact fee ordinance for the library, and the library trustees need to, you need to start looking at working. You can use these fees, as we have with other departments, to take a look at, what you can do to the existing building, and maybe some of that work's already been done. It's very clear you can't do anything.
Mhm.
It's probably a pretty
Right.
quick exercise. And then internally, you take a look at, okay, what are we doing? Are we looking to build an annex, or are we going to try to build that big brand new library? And how long is that going to take? So for an example, could you use people light up all social media and stuff? But for example, if you looked at the old fire station, could that structure there have some usable space for yoga and knitting and story time and these types of activities? It's not that far from the library. Is that a possibility? And these impact fees, I think, could be used to explore something like that, or another facility. I don't know.
Okay.
That's permanent square footage space that can be used, year round. And it is adding something. But you're in a tough spot. You're in a real tough spot. You are.
Mr. Leary, you have any input?
Yeah, I have a question for Phil first. You said it would be used year round. How would you use it in the wintertime if it's not an enclosed structure?
We would just create a path to it. That's what we did with our story time. So we would create a path, and we would be able to have all of the supplies and everything, the tables, chairs out there. So like, for example, when people are coming to get their Polar Express, that's like one of our biggest draws. And that is just huge for the kids. Rather than the wear and tear on the building, how many times can you open that bottom door? Bing, 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 they go in and out and up and down. They would just come right to the pavilion and save all that wear and tear, pick up their items, come back the following, or, so see, and here's the thing, Troy, about the whole, the conundrum is that browsing wise, it's okay, You know what I mean? Like we do have a lot of browsing sometimes all at once, but it's really the programming that floods the library, that brings in everybody, and that's when you feel the space deficiency. So that's why it's like, on the one hand, we don't want to give up that library altogether and start advocating for a new one, because, you know, it does fill our needs for some degree, but, you know, the programming is what, and one thing Mr. Buckley said is, he said, you know, what you have going in your favor is people are not, families looking to come into town, to move into town, are not going to move into town with kids without a library. He goes, they come here because, like, if you go to the National Library, which I did, right? I went with my kids to their programming as well. The kids just stay with their parent because it's so massive and large, and they don't know the other kids. When you come here, the kids just go off and they're together, and the parents are all talking, and, you know, it's that quaint farm town, small town intermingling that really draws families to the library and the reading programs, and then joining the book clubs. And so he said, you know, you don't want to lose that. He said, you kind of have to figure something out, because if people start turning away because they can't get into the programming, that's going to be not good, you know. So
Didn't you get a grant for the pavilion?
we didn't get a grant.
Oh, I thought it was paid for
For
somehow.
the tent, you got a grant.
Oh, for
Oh,
tent.
that's the tent.
Tent.
Oh,
That's
okay.
in,
I was saying,
yeah, that's
you already have
Betty
it paid
Bond is
off.
working on that one,
Right.
right? Yeah, that was through another one, but that tent will come down.
What's the pavilion cost?
31,000, I think I sent to you folks.
It's interesting that you mentioned about the decrease in browsing, which makes sense because people have access to the internet, you know, they're doing that. But really, your programming, that's the service that you're providing, the 21st century service that you're providing for young families to come in. It's interesting that you brought up the old firehouse. I had a brainstorm this weekend, and my brainstorm was that it'd be nice if people had a chance, particularly in the wintertime, but all year long, to, like, I come from a farming community, and all the farmers go to the local place and they have a kitchen table and they drink coffee, right? And whoever's the first one there makes the coffee. And they take up, you know, there might be a microwave there might be a little refrigerator. They either chip in or they take up money. And I thought, wow, the old firehouse would be a great place to have that sort of community thing. Now, if, let's say, the old geezers are there till 10 o'clock in the morning, and then the young folks come in from 10 on, that would be a really good use of that facility, I would think.
What's nice about it, it's open, so it's a configurable space. You can do what you need with it. You can set tables up, break them down. You can make small little groups if you wanted to.
And
You
you
can petition off an area for some other.
and you can heat as much or as little as you want, right?
Okay.
It's kind of it's, you know, it's kind of a quaint little place. Plenty of parking, you know. So I don't know if that fits in with what we're doing here, but
No, but
I,
that's a good point. And I think, like, we haven't had a decrease in browsing, but what we've had, in fact, this year we've served probably more people with the curbside. Curbside has become big. We don't know if we can leave it now. So we're still doing both. We're doing curbside and browsing. But the curbside is something people really love, and we're probably going to continue that. So it's that on top of people coming in to browse. But I think that might be what's reducing it a little bit, like with the browsing. So you're not elbow to elbow. You know, I don't want to portray it that way, like we've outgrown the library. No, we're looking at the programming piece, like we're
You
just
don't
talking.
have an open spot that you configure.
Yeah.
It really comes down
And
to.
and we have a fire code that we have to follow of 32 people downstairs. And, you know, you get even 10 kids down there with the parents and all that, it is chaotic. So
Been there, it's,
yeah,
it gets
so
bad.
it's, yeah, it's trying again to approach things in a modest way, but also making sure we're not going to start losing people with our programming. So, all right, well, thank you for that idea,
Well-
Troy.
Well,
Just-
I think what you're gonna have to do, Cecile, is figure out a way to construct a breezeway to the pavilion. Then it becomes an attached portion of the building.
But you
Then I
have,
think
you
you
have to
got it.
read that contract, because I don't think
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. Not a breezeway, we were calling it a
What?
bridge.
A bridge,
Like, what if we put a bridge to the front porch? Because I don't know if you folks have noticed, but we have like a front porch.
Yep.
So like, even when my kids, I have 3 boys that I may be in the high school book club, and they would meet out there. You know, they'd read a book and then they'd go out front with Carrie Ann Pace and,
Mhm.
you know, and that's where they would have it, whether it's rain or whatever, because it's covered. So we were thinking if we pull, but you know, I think you make a really good point, and you can be really helpful if we're, you know, helping us to understand the historical society and what we can and cannot do.
Or more just parking and safety. So really, you're just trying to use the impact fees for the pavilion. But is there another way to pay for the pavilion? Donations, or I don't want
What
to say
we'll
warrant
have to
article.
do,
Is there
yeah.
another way to pay for that that's a
we're gonna
standalone?
try to
Are there any COVID fees, COVID
You know,
grants
yeah.
that we can?
start knocking on some
Get
of
our
our
hands on it.
state senator doors. I think Shaheen has some block grant. We might be able to knock on her door. I don't know, but we got to do something. We need space.
I have a hard time telling people what they can use their impact fees for. I know that we got an opinion, but like I said to Christy Harrison the other night when we were talking about the school, said it's your money. You should be able to have it and do what you want with it. And I understand Troy's point about a court case, but the library's money.
Yeah, the way I come from is that also, let's not lose focus that we issued a tax. And that tax was for a specific purpose. And the law is that if you don't spend that money for that specific purpose within 6 years, it is to be returned to the person who paid the tax. So we got to look out for the taxpayer here who paid the tax. And it's not free money that we just get to go out and spend however we want. There's a methodology that was used to justify the amount of the tax. So it is very complicated. It's a, I'm not an expert in this area, but I just agree with Mr. Mayberry that I don't think that the library impact fee tax calculation was to build a pavilion. I think it was to put added square footage onto the library or to build new library space somewhere that was used year round with your typical, 4 walls, a roof, heating and cooling.
Now, can I just ask, you don't ever have a conversation with the builders? Like, that's not open. You either return the money or you spend it. But you don't, you can't go to them and say,
No.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
well,
no.
hey, I
it's
don't
not
know
the-
this area.
No, we can't.
I guess
At
the big
all.
question is,
The
what is
conversation we do have
definition
some,
of
usually
added
is when they're
square
paying the impact fees, it's
Right.
$10,000 something
Can it be
dollars, we have a
connected via
conversation. It's not
breezeway?
always comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can it be an annex? I mean, that's the real question is what's the
and
definition
it has to be a capital improvement, right?
of capital improvement and adding square footage?
That library was supposed to have a second bump out. It only has one bump out now, right? You're looking at the library and you have one bump out this way, right in the front. It was supposed to be another one that matched on the other side of the porch.
Oh, really?
Oh, if there's a.
But I don't know
Going
over the
towards
years,
Litchfield?
so you know how you're looking at it and you have, here's 3A and you're looking at the library here.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a little bump out this way.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be another one here, but I don't know what happened over the years with that
Like the
contract.
children's room? When
I
the
don't know.
children's room
I would say,
flooded?
look at the, maybe a phone call to
That goes to what?
the
north side,
Historical
right?
Society president to look at that.
Yeah.
Would though it be the south side?
Be the south side.
But again, it probably had to be built with certain materials and, you just really look at the
Yeah,
contract as a review.
Okay.
So
Parking lot.
They're very particular.
yeah, that's a complete contract.
My
with that.
grandfather I think they ran out of money, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Still are.
No, he's not.
So, Mr. Larry, you see your grandfather was in.
My grandfather was George Goff. He was the GC.
Okay, I'm sorry, buddy.
Was he the Mason too?
Yes, he was. He did. He was kind of a general trade.
Well, thank you for gracious patience on this topic.
Thanks,
You've given
we
us some good
appreciate it.
ideas.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Thank you.
I'll have Stephen call her. Yeah,
Okay.
can I have Steve call her and just?
So do we not want to take action until we
I
get some
don't
more
know. I
information?
mean, can we,
Nothing says we have to take action this evening.
I see both sides. You want to protect the town.
Yep.
And Mr. Larry feels it's their money, so it's but then can you do anything with the building is really this multifaceted here.
That's the part of it. I also would love to know what additional square footage. If you put a breezeway, are you increasing square footage? What is the definition of?
The IRS says you are. What the town?
Does it have to be attached?
Well, she doesn't want to leave yet. We're going to tell her, right? We're still, does she want to leave yet? We can tell her we're discussing it, right?
If they're using it, to me, it's usable square footage. I have a hard time saying no.
Do we want
I
to
think
get
it's
her?
their money.
There's just no decision being made tonight, right? She might be walking away thinking it's a no.
Well, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think she just wanted to say,
Is it
I mean, I think the next step is if there's still some questions and concerns, and that's what it sounds like. We're not all satisfied with where we're at.
I'm torn.
That I share the letter that Mr. Mayberry wrote with our legal counsel and see what she comes up with.
Yeah, maybe they do some investigation with the Historical Society, what you cannot do with the building. Great question when it comes to parking, because all of a sudden now if you're adding X amount of square footage, there is a calculation that goes down to how many parking spots you need based off the square footage of the building. Is there enough ample parking to even add the square footage at this time?
And if you can add on to the building, but you can buy a pavilion, maybe the fees go to that or partial, or if the voters want that, I don't know. That's another whole issue legally.
And then, another discussion for another day is that, I had a discussion with Mr. Mayberry, and I think he put it in his letter as well. We're probably at a point in time where we've recently adopted a new capital improvements plan that we take a look. He's saying that our impact fee ordinance, the methodology that's used, it should be revisited about every 6 years, and it should be updated.
Mhm.
So, going through that process, things have changed for the library. Maybe the method, something comes out of that where it's not, it's a little clearer that we could use more of this type of square footage. But at the very least, maybe we should be looking at updating the impact fee ordinance.
Yeah, we should start looking at that with
Methodology.
capital improvement.
Don't want to.
So, but the first step, if the board supports, I'll share Mr. Mayberry's letter and the methodology document that was used with our attorney. See what her take is on it.
That'd be
I mean,
fantastic.
she works with 40 other communities in the state, and they have impact fees. So
That'd be great if you could do that, please.
What did she call the hours that aren't reading, those other activities?
Programming.
It's not going to fall under recreation, is it? Like the yoga or whatever? I'm just saying, I don't know.
I think it's called chair yoga. It's for.
Well, would that be, I'm not saying use recreation impact money for this because it's not a capital improvement, but I don't know. Is that considered recreation? I don't know. It's physical is recreation, more, mental, but it's still overall health. But I don't want to blur lines, but I'm just trying to find a way to make it work.
yeah, I guess could they use Talon Hall a little bit too? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's tough
Could
with the
there- could
kids. Get shuttling them all back and forth.
the materials, but
yeah.
That's the bigger thing, I think, the materials.
Yeah, kids like to go and grab a book.
Say that again?
The materials.
All the
that are in
materials, when they go in
library
there and
for
they
the
have,
kids, so.
they do the class at the end, they all go and get a book, they bring it
Yeah.
home.
Okay,
Next week,
gotcha.
they bring back
Yeah.
the book when they go to the next class.
Yeah, right.
I was just thinking yoga. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, does yoga have to be under the pavilion? Can it be at town hall?
Yeah.
Is it-
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think it's yoga
These
the way you're thinking of it. I think it's chair yoga where they actually sit in this yoga things you can do sitting in a chair.
No, I thought you could at town hall.
You can sit in chairs at Cal Hall, yeah.
Anyhow,
Okay, so we'll move on to ARPA funds update. Mr. Brown.
ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. So Karen and I have, since the last time we talked to the board, we have attended some more online workshops talking about the ARPA funds. As you know, the town of Litchfield is slated to receive $904,000. We actually have received our first payment of $452,000. I talked to the board that there was certain categories that these funds could be used for, very specific. And I kind of felt that those categories made it kind of restrictive on a lot of the items that we are in need of addressing today in our town. So one of the categories that we learned more about was the replacement of lost revenue. And there's a couple calculators out there that have been developed that will take a look at our revenues that have been collected over previous years. And we enter the data in, and it will calculate out your lost revenue. Well, we were a little surprised when we did the calculation, because everything right now, there's an assumption built into this calculator that we are going to have a 4.5% growth year over year. And when we entered our numbers, if we've done it right, we want to reach out to some more experts in this area to confirm our numbers. But we think that the calculation is indicating that we have lost around $900,000 of revenue. If that's the case, and I'm confident and I can recommend to this board that that is truly the case, we can use that $900,000 under the category lost revenue for any purpose that we normally would use in our operating budget. So
How do they calculate that we've lost $1
that's
million?
why we're, you know,
Well,
we're-
because they're allowing you a 4.1% increase in your collections of revenue. So I've done it 3 different ways, and I've come up with 3 different numbers.
All near each other?
Pretty much, yeah. My last one was 8 something.
Yeah.
Close to.
But not one
Close
was
to
like
9, but then I
200 and
went
one
on
was
vacation.
900.
No. But it's just like, some people said, well, you couldn't take any federal money. Some say it's just your operating budget, because we've also collected, land use change taxes,
Mhm.
but 80% goes to conservation. So it's like, what is it exactly? Is it just our general fund operating budget, which I believe it is. Just what we would lose. So
And based on that, what number did you come up with?
I think that was the last one I did right before vacation, was close to the 9. But we have 3 years to do this in 3 or 4 years, right? Till 2020.
2026.
Oh,
to spend it.
To spend it. But it's
2026.
through 24, I think, to calculate all of
calculate it?
these
Yeah.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll continue to work on that, but we've learned a lot, and we really think that we're going to come up with a substantial number for lost revenue, which gives total flexibility to the selectmen.
That will help with
And-
a lot of things.
Mhm.
And I think that we need to start reaching out to our boards and committees and departments and ask for them to start thinking about projects and putting together some numbers. And we talked about having a committee, and I was thinking over the weekend, really the best committee we probably could use is our capital improvements planning committee, because they've been looking to meet, and I think this would tie in nicely, coming up with a recommended list of items that we should address using these funds, coming from the CIP as a recommendation to this Board of Selectmen, and we go from there. So,
Yeah.
you know, the first big milestone is October. Sometime in October, they'd like to have a sort of a plan on how you propose to use the funds. No commitment.
Yeah.
But sort of a plan. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so I just think there's some great if this works out, there's some real good opportunity to take care of some of these one-time capital expenditures that are needed and can be addressed sooner than later. And I mean, it's all over the place. So with that, you know, I will reach out to our boards and committees and departments to get them on notice, get them thinking. And if the board doesn't have any objections, we'll, you know, the CIP committee is going to meet here soon.
We just got to find a date
And
because
when
no
we find a
Mondays
date,
are
I
open
can
until
talk to
October,
talk to them about this as well.
Now, does this cover just the town budget or does it also cover school budget?
Well, I don't know. I knew that question was to be asked, and I don't know if we could use these funds for school purposes too. But I will find out.
The other thing here, the last bullet talks about access to clean drinking water.
Yes.
So the PFOA situation, perhaps some of those funds could be used in that mitigation effort.
It could be, you know, and I think that it's a case where, because in some of the workshops we were listening to, they really encouraged you to try to find other pots of money. Maybe the Department of Environmental Services may have, because they probably received some of these ARPA funds, and to try to, you know, match some of our funds with their funds to leverage something which could be the extension of water lines or water filtration systems, something in that line.
Or the other possibility is for people who don't have access to public water to put in individual filtration systems on their own wells.
Right.
Because there's a number of people in town that, you know, they don't have the opportunity to pay Penachuk. You know, I feel sorry for them for not having to pay that bill, but I'm being facetious there a little bit. But you see what I'm saying? If they have a well and they could filter the.
Right.
Can I ask a question about capital improvement?
Of course.
Everybody met the different groups together, looking ahead of the strategy and what was missing, and you met with all the heads. Do you need a different, also included in that, another mindset of where deficits or missing money is? Because I don't know if they all bring that to the table. I think they're used to looking at the future and how you can strategize that, but I don't know if they can look to see where the money maybe evaporated over COVID. I don't know if that's a budget committee person or
So
not.
there's a budget committee person that sits on it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm more than one. I'm just saying, just different points of view to come into this. I'm not sure what skill that would be from an accounting point of view.
Say that again?
All right, capital improvement committee kind of looks ahead of where they want to be, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How do we want to use the old buildings? What do we want to do? And what's our town vision? You're looking at trying to find where we lost money.
Yeah.
That's kind of a different mindset, I think, than what they were doing. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I just think maybe somebody else should be part of that
Almost
committee
like,
as well.
Almost like a forensic accountant
I don't know.
to go back through.
Well, because
They're really
I don't think that we
Auditor, I don't
really
know.
lost. What they're allowing us to, they're saying that everybody should have had a 4.1 increase in your revenues. And if you didn't get a 4.1, they made me go back to 2016, 17. Let me say, then you had lost revenue.
So they just drew a line at 4.1 and said between this period and this period.
I thought it was
Did you lose
4.1.
We have to
but-
justify it though.
I think we-
4.1.
Well, maybe it was 4.1.
Would a budget person
It's
know that looks at the revenue side?
Do we have to justify it, or is it plug and chug calculators?
So, yeah, that's the strange conversation is,
2016,
I figured
17.
the federal government would
That-
come out with a calculator. You
Well,
plug everything in, right? And it would spit out a number.
the federal government was trying to address what they heard from towns and cities. The number one fear they had was the loss of revenue. We actually haven't, physically, we've not seen a loss of revenue yet. But remember, this program goes all the way through to 2024. And who knows what's in store for the next couple of years. You know, last year we had people buying brand new cars as soon as they could buy them. They were doing all kinds of remodeling. There was a lot of stuff going on. You go look at car lots now, there's no cars to buy. You know, so over the next couple of years, you know, as the housing boom's going to continue, will we start to see actual loss in revenue? But on paper, as far as the federal government's concerned, it appears that we have experienced a loss in revenue. We did not assume a 4.5% growth
Yeah.
that we should have. I think we calculated that we had about on average a 4.1%. The difference between that 4.1 and 4.5 is somewhere close to this number of $850,000 to $900,000.
Interesting.
But to sit here and show you that I lost revenue, I can't show that to you on paper.
So we just don't know if the government requires it or not to show.
So it'll be interesting to see as more gets unraveled in the program. I'm sure more details have to come out, right?
Well, they were saying a lot of towns, a lot of small towns hadn't even claimed their money yet. They hadn't even done their applications for the money yet because they didn't think they had any loss in revenue. And during these webinars, they tell you that you really have to do this calculator because you lost revenue, even though
Yeah.
everybody thinks they didn't, because they're allowing you that big jump, which is big.
So the workshop pointed to a particular calculator they said you should use.
It's like 2 or 3 of them. I've used one. And I don't know. I want to
So-
send it to somebody to have them look at it, but everybody seems to say, you know, don't worry about it. Everybody's really lost revenue because they assume you're going to have that big increase.
Do our auditors know anything about it?
No.
No, they
No,
wouldn't
but NHMA,
know.
you know, they're big into it. I guess they were calling all the towns that hadn't claimed it yet, trying to
there's-
tell them to claim it because you can keep it there, and if you don't use it, eventually you're going to have to return it.
Yeah.
But they don't want them to lose it because I think it's passed now. I think it was like August 18th or something that they had to claim it by. Otherwise, it's gone. You'll never get it. It's done.
Huh.
So we were told that based on the response that they were seeing statewide, there's a good possibility that some of these towns will not be spending the money. If that's the case, that goes back to the state and they'll redistribute those funds to towns like Litchfield. So we could receive additional funds.
Wow.
Yeah.
It makes
It's gonna
you
be on
shake
top
your
of our
head.
game.
Makes you shake your head.
It really does.
I have a jackknife.
$100,000 jack. Anyhow, so
Okay.
I just wanted to give you an update. We're starting to get a lot more information and we're putting all our eggs in one basket here. We're really looking forward to the lost revenue category.
Okay. Next, we have administrative report. Mr. Brown.
I just close myself out. Is this the portal?
I think he covered it all.
Yeah, I know. I'm tired. I only had one. There's an important thing I need to make sure I tell the board. I just think I logged myself out. But I wanted to make sure I gave the board an update. We had a local contractor in town over the last couple months work with our police department and highway department, and they restored our old shooting range down below the recycling facility and highway facility. So if you ever get an opportunity and you can drive back there, you'll be absolutely amazed at the work that has been done. More work has been done on putting the protective berm around. They put some recycled asphalt down. So all the mud, I mean, it used to be all mud and everything. So the police officers can really set up all the equipment they need when they're qualifying and doing their, mandatory training. This facility was built about, I don't know, over 10 years ago, and it was used for a while, and we're not sure why the use stopped. Maybe it was, again, it could get muddy during seasonal times. And we were relying on Londonderry and Hudson's Rangers to do this work. So now the chief's very excited about using this facility, and it's just a wonderful benefit to the town
That's great.
to have this.
Please send a thank you to the local contractor if you would
I will.
for doing that for us. That's great.
If you go visit, make sure you come in the right way.
Don't tell Mitch.
We'll send him down. Would you check this out, Kevin?
Oh, no.
We want you to walk around this way.
There's people setting off fireworks down there.
Anything else, Troy?
That's it.
All right. Next, the selectmen reports. Ms. Queenan.
Let's see. The planning board next meeting will be Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in this building. We are starting to continue. Let me rephrase that. We're continuing to work on our land use laws. We're going to start having workshops. I think people want to focus on the northern commercial district, but I think we're going to focus on all three to keep our eye on all three at the same time. I think I'm going to ask the planning board to look at our open space development. I think we found a huge loophole recently in our ordinance, and we'll research some of that, and I'll come back to the board here with that. NRPC, the full commissioner meeting will be Wednesday, September 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And the details are on their website, but you could join. It'll be at 30 Temple Street in Nashua. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. The next we have is myself. It's the emergency management team. We have not met in several weeks, which is a good thing. The governor's emergency has gone away, so our weekly Wednesday calls have not happened. So hopefully we can keep it that way for a while. Recreation Commission, we meet tomorrow night, but we did have a special meeting last Thursday, and we do have an event coming up this Saturday. Chaos and Kindness Recycled Percussions is doing an event at Roy Memorial Park. Doors open at 5 and they go on at 8 o'clock at night. So it should be a fun event. And tickets are $30 on their website, and they're expecting about 1,000 people. School Facility Improvement Committee, our last meeting was canceled due to vacations. And Capital Improvement Committee, we're trying to get another date on the docket. So that's what I have. Mr. Leary.
Budget committee meets Thursday. That's our next meeting.
And budget season is about to start, huh?
And let the games begin.
Thank you. You'll see a lot of them in the next few months.
I will. I may not say that much.
Yep. So Mr. Lynch is not here this evening. Mr. Lascelles.
Heritage Commission has not met. I'm expecting them to meet in this, what is it, the second Tuesday in the month. The PFOA Commission was supposed to meet last week, and that was canceled. There really hasn't been anything going on with the legislature other than the governor did veto a number of bills, one having to do with the primary. There was a bill that passed to change the primary from September to August, and the governor did veto that. So, and And so there will be a veto day coming up, but other than that, not a lot happening.
Okay, thank you. We did have two other items of business added. The first was the Purple Heart. Mr. Brown, do you have an
Oh,
update?
No, I'm glad that that issue came up. I know the way we left it off, we were talking with the veterans group and raising, doing some money, trying to raise money for the signs.
Yep.
I think. So I got to reach out to
Bobby Jacques.
Bobby Jock
Mhm.
and see where he's at with that.
Yeah,
Because
we've
we
already
just got to
got-
work with New Hampshire DOT.
We have a donor for the signs, Mr. Larry
Oh, you
just
do?
said. Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Adams, I believe, is gonna.
Okay. So we get the signs bought, and then it's just
Doing a ceremony.
it's just getting the DOT to allow us, and doing a
We also want to do a ceremony,
Yeah,
right, with as
okay.
many veterans as we possibly can.
Yeah, maybe like Veterans Day.
Okay.
That'd be a great time to do it.
Okay.
Is there a way publicly to figure out if we have living Purple Heart recipients in town?
I think we could do a public, reach out and using maybe social media and
Because I believe
we
in the
talked
wa-
about actually maybe doing a direct mailing.
Yeah, I think that
To
came
the
up
people
when
who-
the woman who came in and did the presentation,
Yeah.
she says there's really not a database because it's a very personal thing and a lot of people don't
Yeah.
want it out
A lot
there.
of people don't want to offer it, but
So that might be something to ask Bobby. I mean, because the veterans are a very tight group and they may know within their group who has or has not.
It would be a shame if we honored Purple Heart recipients and left somebody out, who,
right.
Yeah, maybe they have the means back through the group because a couple of them are still, contract workers.
I'm
that
not
are
aware of
posting and stuff.
anything. The VA, I know, would not be a good source for that. But I don't know.
Maybe if we put Bobby and Mary on it, they could.
Bobby's pretty sharp, so he
He
would.
and his wife Mary are pretty good at data mining and figure out what they can and can't do.
Okay.
That'd be great. And the next item was Wilson's Farm. And I do agree with Mr. Larry that it's a travesty not having them around. And if we could do something, a letter from the board, just letting them know that we miss them. And we'd like to see if they would entertain coming back to town. Because
They had used COVID for the reason that they had closed, but I mean, we're not beyond it, but other places have opened now, so.
I mean, there's a lot of large farm stands that are still open. If you go down to Lexington, their farm stand down there is wide open, and Idlewild Farms and all those down there. So it would be nice just to reach out to them.
Yep.
Just let them know they're missed and see if they will change their opinion on opening or not.
Robert, do you know who is running Wilson Farms now?
Yeah, there's two sons and a daughter down there, I believe.
So the three of them are running it?
Yep.
A
Okay.
lot of good vegetables from our soil going down there.
Yeah, I know. Sad.
Okay, since we have no other business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Larry,
Second.
second by Ms. Queenan. Any discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Larry,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0. Have a good evening. Thank you for tuning in and hope to see you at the Chaos and Kindness event on Saturday evening. Be well.
Awesome. Be well, guys.
Have a good night,
All right,
Bob.
Bob.
Chat soon.